Windows laptops are out of control, and it's finally time that someone took a stand about it. Well, actually, you've probably heard a little bit of what I'm going to say before, maybe in different ways from different people, but wow, I really had to talk about this today because I'm reviewing this absolute beast of a laptop. This is an MSI Raider A18. Let's see what the full model name here is. A18 HX A9W. Yes, and this is one of the new mobile AMD HX3D Vcache processors, and it also has an NVIDIA RTX 5090. So this is pretty much the high end of the high end when it comes to laptops. And to be fair to this MSI Raider A18, I actually think it's quite a fine laptop. And if you're in the market for a really high-end Windows laptop, it's not a bad choice. It is priced at $5,099, which is a lot of money. However, when you consider what's in it and you look at all the competitors, you start to think, well, okay, it's actually not that badly priced. It's kind of one of the less expensive options that you could get that has that particular combination of super high-end hardware. So I'm not trying to sort of have a dig on this particular laptop. What I'm really kind of concerned about is the overall performance and the Windows ecosystem right now in a laptop like this, because this is a thick thing. Okay, this is like over an inch thick, and it weighs 8 pounds, and it is expensive, like I said. Also, this laptop, now this is, I think, this is something that if you haven't purchased or seen one of the laptops like this before, it just always gets me. Wait for it. The power brick. Oh my God. 400 watts of power right here. This thing weighs about 2.5 pounds on its own. So you are looking at, about 10 pounds overall if you want to put this in your backpack. And you're going to need this guy because the battery life is going to be probably somewhere 3 to 4 hours if you're lucky and you're using the hybrid graphics mode, which turns off the RTX 5090 to preserve the graphics a bit. And if you're not lucky, you could easily drain a charge in an hour. It's a bit crazy. And so, it is a great performer, record-setting performance for a Windows laptop in many regards, particularly the GPU, because RTX 5090 is, of course, the fastest GPU. This is a thick laptop. It's got a lot of thermal headroom. But I was thinking about this particular system and who is it for, and who are these high-end Windows laptops for these days? And I was having a hard time coming up with a very good answer. And this is why I say that I think they've kind of gotten out of control. Because, okay, so let's say you are a gamer, and for some reason you want really, really high-end gaming performance, but you also only want a laptop. Okay. I mean, that's already narrowing your audience quite a bit right off the bat, in my opinion. Who needs to have the performance of an RTX 5090 mobile, which, this thing can play Cyberpunk in the overdrive ray tracing preset, around. It's not going to play that very well at 4K, but if you do like 1080p, you can get about 45 FPS, then you can do some upscaling, what have you. You can use DLS SS frame gen, and you can actually get playable performance at that preset in Cyberpunk 2077 on this laptop. Or if you're playing a competitive esports game, like Counter-Strike or something like that, you can get hundreds of FPS, way beyond what the panel in this can actually handle, by the way, because it's a 120 hertz panel. So if you go above 120 frames per second, you're playing on the laptop, it's kind of a waste. That's arguable. Some people will point out that there's still some responsiveness advantage there, possibly. There's lots of videos on YouTube about that. But in general, you're really paying a high price, a high premium for that frame rate. And who wants to do that? I mean, I have to imagine that you'd be like a competitive esports player. And that would be viable for you if you're actually making money off of, competing in esports titles, and you need the travel and be able to play at very high frame rates wherever you are, and you don't have any sponsors or a team or anything providing you hardware, then yeah, sure, I guess that laptop makes sense. Alternatively, if you have just lots of money and you really don't have much value for each dollar, you're like, it's $5,000 laptop, whatever, I'll buy it. Then sure, I mean, I guess you're the audience for this. What about non-gaming use cases? What about if this is a workstation replacement laptop? Which is, MSI kind of pitches it lightly as this. When I was talking to MSI about this laptop, they were saying that it could be used for AI workloads. They definitely mentioned that with the RTX 5090 that has the 24 gigabytes of RAM in it. And in fact, it is, if you want to run like a Gemma 27B or a Quinn 32B large language model on the laptop, this is probably about as good as you're going to get in the Windows world. And obviously, since it does have a great CPU in it and a great GPU, you can do all kind of Blender, video editing workloads, all sorts of things are going to run as well on this laptop as they would on any Windows laptop possibly could. But then again, if you are looking for a workstation replacement laptop and you need a laptop specifically, then you have to ask, I assume you're traveling a lot, right? And is this laptop appropriate for travel? I mean, you saw it. Do you want to pack this with you and carry this around and get this out whenever you need to do work? I mean, I wouldn't want to do that. And I imagine there's some people that are willing to put up with that, or they have to put up with it because maybe they run a specific software that only works on Windows, and they also need the performance. But man, I have to think that's a pretty slim audience, right? I mean, leave a comment if you're the person that would buy a laptop like this. I'd actually really like to know what are you using this for? Like, is this mostly an entertainment thing? Do you need it for your career? I would really like a little more information on that because I'm starting to feel like I don't quite know who this is for. And then the other thing to remember about all this as well, both for a portable workstation scenario and for a gaming scenario, is that the fan noise on this is, of course, incredible. I had this thing doing the benchmarks today and going through, 3D Mark and PC Mark and then, Cinebench and all kinds of different workloads. And it's like having a little jet engine, on your desk with you. And MSI does the best they can, but at the end of the day, with these sort of laptops and with the direction hardware is going right now, the performance advantage oftentimes come from the amount of watts that you can push through the laptop. And if you're pushing more watts through your laptop, then you are also going to be generating more heat if you have the same computer, the same chip architecture in your laptop as everyone else, which of course you do because everyone's using NVIDIA GPUs because they're the only ones who make competitive mobile GPUs. So they don't really have any option. It's RTX 5090 or bust, and all those RTX 5090s are going to be about as efficient as each other. So you just got to push as much watts out of them as you possibly can, as consistently as possible. It's a similar story with the CPU. So, you've got this laptop that weighs 10 pounds to travel with, and it is incredibly loud if you actually use the performance, and it's over $5,000. And I'm just not really sure. It feels like these high-end Windows laptops have really just lost the plot. It's like we've kind of rewind on all the progress that we've made over the last 20 years from, when I was young, laptops were kind of ridiculous systems that were huge if you wanted to get any work done on them. And slowly they got smaller and smaller and smaller, and more portable and more efficient, and the power bricks got smaller with them, and battery life got better. But now for the high-end category of Windows laptops, it's kind of gone entirely back in the other direction, where these laptops are hardly useful for travel at all. These laptops are incredibly loud, and it's kind of annoying to have near you when they're doing any sort of work. They have to be powered by these absurd power bricks that deliver as much power as, a lot of desktop PCs, like 400 watts. Like 15 years ago, you could power a very, very nice, maybe even 10 years ago. I don't know. That might be pushing it. But you could power a really, really nice gaming desktop on 400 watts. And these days we're trying to put that through a laptop. Now, I also mentioned, Windows laptops in particular are getting kind of absurd. And I was thinking about this not only because I was reviewing this laptop, but also because I've been looking at MacBooks. Been kind of thinking about getting one. I have a Mac Mini that I am talking to you on right now. It's what does my my video production, such as it is for these YouTube videos, and it works great. I can record very smoothly, and it's inexpensive. It doesn't make any noise. But I also know that I've done some more elaborate video editing projects on my Computer Gaming Yesterday channel. And I know from experience that in general, the Macs are just way more efficient and also smoother in terms of what the class of hardware is and the experience you're going to get, doing video editing. I mean, you've probably seen those videos too on YouTube. There's video editing. It's like the one use case that every YouTuber covers, right? Because it's a video platform. So there's been plenty of videos all over the internet about how even on like a MacBook Air M4, you can do pretty good 4K video editing with the MacBook Air M4, right? Like maybe you are not using that to do a Pixar movie or something like that. Do super high-end professional work for clients who are very demanding with their workload. But if you're just doing it for YouTube, and YouTube these days is a place where some people make millions and millions of dollars and run entire production companies, then do you need to have much more performance than what that Air is going to give you? I don't know. And then, of course, if you do, there's the MacBook Pros. The MacBook Pro 16, fully kitted out, is going to be more expensive than this Windows laptop. But, I mean, it seems like it would be largely preferable to this MSI Raider, even though it's technically not as powerful in the GPU department. Apple has so many efficiencies with how they allocate their hardware, the unified memory architecture, the encode units they build into their hardware. It just seems like it's a much better option in most cases, unless for some reason the Mac workflow is something that just doesn't work for you because of a particular piece of software that you need. So I guess that really takes us back to the gaming as the main thing. But I don't want to game on a laptop like this. I don't. I just don't. I can't. It's hard. Like I can imagine. This is one of the hard things about being a reviewer, right? Because it's not just about what I like. It's about what the people who are probably in the market for this laptop like. And I can imagine there are some people, I've known people, who are okay, gaming on these really big, powerful, and loud laptops. But personally, it's not really for me. Personally, this is why I've always stuck to a desktop for my gaming, because it's much quieter and you get a lot better bang for your buck. So all this is to say that with the direction of Windows laptops and x86 hardware and NVIDIA hardware right now, it feels like these Windows laptops are getting more and more absurd. And because they're getting bigger, heavier, louder, their battery life is getting shorter, the audience for these laptops, I feel like, is this narrowing and narrowing and narrowing and narrowing over time. And maybe that has something to do with why, Windows installs overall are going down. Maybe that's a big reason why so many people are excited for Valve's SteamOS. But it feels like something has got to give here. And right now, it feels like that the traditional Windows x86 hardware, NVIDIA mobile GPU world, that kind of ecosystem that has dominated Windows gaming, especially on the mobile side, but really on the desktop too, for the last, I would say, 20 years, really. That has been the dominant, form of hardware for gaming on Windows in terms of market share over and over and over again. It feels like it's really getting backed into a corner. So where does that leave things? And where are things going from here? I don't know for sure, but I think that for one thing, Apple, if they can get gaming figured out, there's a big opportunity for them there. I don't actually think they will, because I think there's things about Apple, how Apple likes to run their ecosystem, that are kind of fundamentally against gaming. I mean, when you look at Steam, Steam is 10% pornography games. Well, Apple's never going to do that. You know what I'm talking about? Apple is just a very cautious company. Even games that are violent, like I don't think they necessarily want to be associated with. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. I was thinking Qualcomm has a big opportunity if they can figure out their situation with the drivers on their integrated GPUs and also with how their systems work with NVIDIA GPUs or even AMD GPUs, some sort of GPU. Make your own GPU. Do something, Qualcomm, because they do seem to have an advantage in terms of their efficiency with their CPUs. And if they can figure out something similar with the GPU, maybe they would be able to bring efficiencies like that of a MacBook to a Windows system. Now, with that said, though, I do think we're kind of dealing with some hard realities of physics here. Like the nodes for building these chips are not getting smaller quick enough to see the kind of gains that we used to be able to see. So that's why we're pushing more and more power at these high-end laptops. So, is there some sort of change that can happen to completely like alter the efficiency curve of like the power going into our laptop and the performance we get out? Maybe AI can be part of that. I mean, it already is, I guess, on the GPU for NVIDIA, but even that doesn't seem to be enough. Maybe we turn more to the cloud. I don't know, but it definitely seems like with the Windows high-end hardware, gaming laptops, even workstation laptops, we're getting to a situation where there's a very tight appeal with a lot of these laptops. Again, MSI Raider A18. If you're sitting there and you're like, I want an AMD Vcache chip in my laptop, and I want an NVIDIA RTX 5090. That sounds great to me. I don't care if it does sound like a jet engine. I like jet engines. Well, then this MSI Raider A18, I think it's pretty good. I would recommend buying it, but I just think that there is a very narrow appeal to that sort of laptop these days. But, like I said, I'd really like to hear a little bit more about what people are using these laptops for and what you think of them. So leave a comment if you think, I'm crazy and these laptops are amazing and you really want the biggest, most powerful laptop that you can get for some reason. I'd really like to hear about it. Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.